Hello and welcome to this lecture where we will start exploring automation with PowerShell. So PowerShell is a very powerful tool that a lot of system administrators are familiar with, and it helps them to do repetitive tasks that they'll normally do one by one in bulk. So in this video, we will be exploring from a theoretical point of view what it is to know about PowerShell. PowerShell for Active Directory specifically is just a powerful tool that is probably used to create automated tasks. It's used for scripting and it's used for automating how to deploy certain things in a specific network environment, particularly Microsoft related because it's a Microsoft service. Now, in this context, we would only be exploring PowerShell and its use with Active Directory. Although it can be used for so many other things, but for the purpose of this training, at least you need to be able to demonstrate how to use PowerShell with Active Directory. For instance, if you wanted to create 10 user accounts, do you just go to your Active Directory users and computers, snap in, and manually create them one by one? Or you can just open PowerShell and run a script, and then that would just automatically create all those users for you. And not just that, probably set their right properties, their email addresses and their passwords and all that. So that's what PowerShell is probably used for when it comes to IT environment. The next thing we need to talk about PowerShell is what are some of the key features and benefits. I might have already overstepped by talking about some of the benefits in the previous slide, but it's good for automation and it's good for efficiency, so you can do things quicker. And because you're doing things quicker with an automated way, there's a high level of efficiency. There's a high level of great output. You can perform a lot of bulk things at a time rather than doing them manually one by one. And there's always that level of flexibility that you can always tweak and change whatever you use to create the automations, however you see fit. It's all about understanding how to be familiar with the language. And finally, consistency. It ensures consistent application of policies and configurations across the Active Directory. The next thing we'll talk about PowerShell is to do with what are some of these commands. So PowerShell needs certain commandlets for you to be able to interact with Active Directory. And some of these commands, we're not going to really spend much time on this. We just need to have a look at how they are used, how they are written, and what the language looks like. So for instance, when it comes to user management, you would be using commands like new AD user or get the user or set the user or remove a user. And basically when you use this command and you follow with the proper channel language, with the proper language that goes together with the flag, then it would give the desired result output. Some other commandlets that we'll be talking about, we probably wouldn't be using them, but it's handy to know just to understand how the language starts with, for instance, whenever you want to start an action. So you see new AD group, get AD group, add AD group member, and remove AD group member. And the same way is applied to computer management, and the same way is applied to managing OUs. So we're just using PowerShell. You can be able to manage these basic things that you be using your normal graphic user interface to do. But the limitation is that if you go through that approach, you'd only be doing them manually one by one. But when you're in an environment where you have to manage about thousands of users, then it's handy as a system administrator to be proficient in the using of PowerShell. One of the other things we need to just talk about is, so say you know how to use these flags and you know about the benefits, now you know what it is. Some of the advanced operations that you'll be doing on the fly, if you're very familiar with PowerShell, will be a lot of bulk operations, automation scripts, and generating reports. For instance, you want to generate a report to find out how many accounts in the past 2 days has been locked out. You can't manually go and be checking every account in your Active Directory users and computer snapping to find out who is locked and who's not. You can basically use a PowerShell script that will just return the result of all the users, their name and whatever filters or whatever properties you're looking for, and their status to see if they are locked or unlocked, and then you can investigate further. Some of the best practices when you're using PowerShell is obviously you want to be testing as always. You need to test your scripts in a non-production environment before deploying them to production. You want to document how you came about the script, and then if anyone in the future wants to use it, they can use it and they'll understand how or what the script does and change whatever they need to do. So PowerShells and their purposes needs to be documented so that it can be maintained. And you should always use PowerShell in the best and least privileged mode. When you're executing PowerShell scripts, obviously you would be executing scripts that contain sensitive information. So you should always make sure that you know what you're doing and you're not giving that information to the wrong party. And it's always better to implement version control. Maybe you had this script that was able to do this and you improved it to do something else in addition. At least you need to keep a copy of the new script and keep the old script, and you have some level of versioning in place to know what the various scripts you have developed did at a specific point in time. So with this, I'll leave you and we would continue with the next video where we'll start seeing hands-on how PowerShell works. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.